Hello there, my friends. Welcome to the Star Wars Vault. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe for new Star Wars content every week.
Alright guys, today we get to finish the three-part story of what if Anakin killed Sidious and became Emperor after Order 66. To recap parts 1 and 2, we witnessed Anakin take control of the galaxy in an instant by killing Darth Sidious shortly after destroying the entire Jedi Order. The young Emperor would spend the first 10 years after the Clone Wars advancing his power and knowledge in the Force, while also stumbling upon two surviving Force users. One was his former apprentice Ahsoka Tano, the other was Maul, who once trained as a Sith. He convinces the two rogue warriors to join him and his military forces as Anakin fears the worst. Another 10 years goes by with Anakin's children fully grown. We now begin part 3 with the Yuuzhan Vong invading the galaxy 20 years into Skywalker's reign as Emperor. After many years, the visions that Emperor Skywalker was having seemed to have now become reality. How could this be, he thought. I know nothing of this enemy. I sensed danger for so long, and yet there is no clue on who we're dealing with. Anakin paces around his office chambers as he sees Padme approaching him. Anakin, this unknown force is currently attacking the Outer Rim systems. We need to do something. Anything. Anakin acknowledges, and thus he rallies his two children, Luke and Leia, to help lead a massive fleet. The Emperor departs from Coruscant, along with several Star Destroyers and millions of stormtroopers. On the way to the Utapau system, Anakin tells Luke and Leia that they must learn as much as they can about the alien race in order to know exactly how to defeat them. All the reports from the Galactic Army on scene are inconclusive. Many of those reporting the invasion are being wiped out by the incredible influx of Yuuzhan Vong ships. Several battles begin to take place on Utapau and other Outer Rim planets. Anakin, Luke, and Leia fly to the surface to discover the appearance of these alien beings. War rages on as many stormtroopers are terminated by the Yuuzhan Vong and their unique warfare. The Skywalkers study these sentient beings with their eyes to decipher what they are and what their purpose is. Anakin realizes why he couldn't detect the Yuuzhan Vong. It appears that the Force is absent within them. One creature after another, he constantly observes and attempts to sense their intentions, to no avail. He takes Luke and Leia back to the capital while deploying countless fleets, with billions of clone troopers and human soldiers to hold off the foreign entity. Back on Coruscant, Anakin listens in to the other members of his new High Council, simply named Wielders of the Force. While the galaxy had many species with possible Force sensitivity, only 4 were known after the death of Sidious and the Great Jedi Purge. Not only 4 users who had the most potential power in the Force by midichlorian count, but also by and far the most advanced and trained. The 20-year-old twins Luke and Leia, along with Ahsoka and Maul. It's important to note that Anakin is currently in his 40s and has already reached his full potential in the Force. The 5 members discuss how it seems the Yuuzhan Vong's warfare is completely genetically engineered. Somehow, their innovations of weaponry were purely organic. The fact that these aliens could not be directly affected or sensed by the Force, the Council realized they have a true problem on their hands. A galactic war rages on for another decade and a half. It seems like a losing battle for the Empire as time goes on. At first, Anakin thought his army and overwhelming numbers would dwindle the Yuuzhan Vong, but the intergalactic zealots always found a way to adapt. They practiced religious rituals to honor their gods and transform their physical appearance through acts such as organ grafting and escalation. These rituals allowed the Yuuzhan Vong to rebuild their bodies with organic living creatures in order to obtain unique abilities that would harm and kill their enemies. This was absolutely devastating as their tactics brutally murdered trillions of soldiers and citizens of the Empire. Many worlds were becoming unbreathable wastelands from the destruction. Anakin finally decided to pull a fast move on the Yuuzhan Vong with the surprise attack from his 2 Death Stars. He stationed each one on opposite ends of the expanded fleet of the Vong. Each Death Star had a commander on board to direct attacks, Ahsoka and Maul. The initial attacks are a success and allow Skywalker's Empire to move in on the fleet. Unknown to Anakin and his Imperial fleet, the Yuuzhan Vong greatly despised mechanical technology, as they had an ancient history of war with the droid species. This ultimately led to the destruction of the Vong's home galaxy, and so they had to travel to a new one in hopes of conquest. The Yuuzhan Vong begin to attack the Death Stars after goading Anakin and his space stations in. Without being able to detect their next move, Anakin witnesses these giant organic spacecraft using its long tentacle arms to suck in each of the Death Stars. The bombs and lasers fired from the two technological tears did little to nothing, as these organic ships would absorb these blasts and even grow in size from the energy it now harnesses. In just the nick of time, both Maul and Ahsoka escape in an emergency shuttle as the two Death Stars collapse and fall apart. They reunite with Anakin and his two children. The 5 Force users prepare to redirect their fight in the Mustafar system over to the Dagobah system. There was one last card up Emperor Skywalker's sleeve. For years during this war, Anakin looked for ways that he could banish the Yuuzhan Vong. He now knows what he must do. His pull away from Mustafar appeared as a retreat to the Yuuzhan Vong. They chased their prey all the way to the orbit over the surface of Dagobah. The Star Destroyer carrying the 5 remaining Force users take a shuttle down to the planet. Anakin tells the group that he has summoned the leader of the Vongs, as a ship flies down with Onimi and a personal army of Vong warriors. Anakin begins to stare down Onimi as the couple dozen warriors battle Luke, Leia, Ahsoka, and Maul. Without their Force detection, the Jedi struggled against the Yuuzhan Vong. They were very hard to kill, as a body part would regrow or mutate and adapt after being sliced by a lightsaber. Maul began to lose patience, as he screamed, "You want pain? You want suffering? You want brutal? I'll show you brutal." The former Sith charged a handful of Vong warriors at once. "Wait, no!" Ahsoka yelled as she jumped in to defend her friend. After several strikes and parries, both Maul and Ahsoka are impaled with organic staffs as they were outnumbered. Anakin feels their life force drift away as he battles Onimi. "Ahsoka," he thought to himself. This hesitation allows Onimi to strike Anakin with his organic poisonous sword. Anakin falls to the ground, feeling delirious. He wonders if defeat is inevitable, until he looks up and sees Luke and Leia, still fighting. There's still hope left. Anakin turns to Leia. He tells her to leave immediately in the shuttle with Luke. They are instructed to split up and lead 2 silent fleets to attack the Yuuzhan Vong's command ship on their father's orders. Anakin stands up and is mocked by Onimi, who claims Anakin's empire has fallen. The Chosen One smirks back, saying, "Not yet." Anakin then uses the Force to electrocute the serpent sword Onimi is holding. The power begins to stun the Vong leader, who looks in complete disbelief. Anakin reveals he sensed Onimi was not like one of his people, that he was Force sensitive. This was due to an organ grifting performed by the Shaper, who added Yamas tissue to his brain. It's ironic how the Vong leader thought this adaptation would be an advantage, but it turned out to be the ultimate disadvantage when facing the most powerful Force user in the universe. Anakin threw his lightsaber away, as to him it was no longer useful. He began to engage in hand-to-hand combat while implementing Force Drain on Onimi whenever he found an opening. Onimi signaled to his command ship that he was in great danger, to which the entire fleet came down to surface to aid their supreme leader. As the Yuuzhan Vong army steps foot on Dagobah, the Emperor seems to be at an end's meet with certain death awaiting. Anakin uses the Force to telepathically tell his children to attack now on the command ship while their backs are turned. The Yuuzhan Vong have been outsmarted finally. Their operational ships are being blasted out of the sky with no defense, as Luke and Leia successfully lock the alien race onto a singular world, all because of their leader calling for help to save him. In a poetic way, the Yuuzhan Vong are now trapped on a planet with many swamps and unique organic life. Something they did not know was that Dagobah was a planet very strong in the Force, particularly in the dark side, which has led to the greatest trap of all time. The Vongs begin to charge Anakin from a distance, as Emperor Skywalker begins to use his incredible power to brew the dark magic he has learned about for decades. He pulls out the Dark Staff, an ancient Sith artifact that was once used to conjure a powerful Force storm. The Yuuzhan Vong begin to panic, as they witness time and space ripple in front of them on Dagobah, the ground shifting, major earthquakes occurring, and a giant cloud of lightning and darkness consume the atmosphere. Anakin is exerting every ounce of his being in the Force to create this wormhole storm. He continues to direct his focus on completing this cataclysmic event. Onimi desperately runs towards him to stop his manifestation. Anakin closes his eyes. He reaches out to Luke, Leia, and his wife Padme through the Force. He simply says, "Goodbye, I love you." Within an instant, Anakin directs all of his power toward the outer regions of the galaxy, and boom! The entire planet of Dagobah is swallowed by the storm and immediately shot into the stars. A supernova follows, with every living being on Dagobah being vaporized, including Anakin. Luke, Leia, and Padme all mourn the death of Anakin, but celebrate his sacrifice with the remaining survivors of the galaxy. Trillions were in fact lost, but the Emperor's sacrifice made the Yuuzhan Vong extinct and effectively removed the existential threat from the Galactic Empire. Years go on as the Empire looks to rebuild and recover after the war. Luke and Leia work together as equals, Emperor and Empress Skywalker leading with their mother as head advisor in their mission of bringing peace and freedom to the galaxy. Eventually, Luke has a dream. He sees his father. They seem to be in a cosmic setting, a place that Luke has no knowledge of. "Father, where are we? It's good to see you. I miss you. We all miss you." "It's all right, son. I did what I had to do, and I would do it 1,000 times over." "Why did you sacrifice yourself, Father?" "Because, Luke, it was the only way," Anakin answered. "You see, my son, I've learned a lot since my transformation into the Force. You see, it was the Force all along that created me. Now that I have transcended death, I have spoken to the wills of the Force. I was told the Chosen One prophecy was not about Jedi or Sith. It was much more than that. Although I was disgusted with my murderous attack on the Jedi Temple, it seems as if it was a necessity. I've come to learn that neither the Jedi nor the Sith were balanced and therefore powerful enough to defend the galaxy from extinction. I became Emperor and began to utilize both the light and dark side of the Force to have complete balance." Luke grew all the wiser from his dream with Anakin. He felt much more pride in the man his father was. Even though he made awful mistakes, those mistakes were bound to happen in Anakin's prophesized journey. It all made sense to Luke, Leia, and Padme. The Force chose Anakin. He is the chosen one because in the end, he is the one to save the Force itself. With the Vong being immune to the Force would virtually be dead because it would have no life forms to feed off of. It created a child to preserve its own safety for millions of generations. The Force detected the threat of the Yuuzhan Vong without knowing exactly what it is. The wills of the Force had intuition, and therefore chose Anakin. The Empire would go on and have more peace and freedom than it ever had. The children of Anakin went on to create a new order of Force users simply called Skywalkers, in tribute to the late great Emperor Anakin. And there it is, guys. The story is finally now complete. I had a real fun time making this trilogy. I'm sure it's not perfect, but I did put a lot of work into this, and it was a real joy to create. Now, I want to know what your thoughts are on this. What part of out of the three did you enjoy the most? What would you have done different, maybe, if you were writing this story? Did you like how Anakin's arc finished in this video? Comment your thoughts below. Be sure to force push the like button to support the channel. It's greatly appreciated. Follow my socials if you want. Those links are in the description below. With that, I want to thank all of you who tuned into this 3-part story. I'll be back soon with more fan fiction, so until next time, my friends, may the Force be with you.